A program that I want you to be aware of. It's a youth conference sponsored by the Cloud of Witnesses, headed by Reverend Parker, Willie B. Parker. It will be held at the Village United Methodist Church, 5201 Britain Road in Oklahoma City. The registration is free and it will start at 8:30 a.m. A survey has been circulated in Oklahoma City. I want to see what the kids want to hear from Christian people. They wanted to hear, and they want a workshop on how they can stay away from gangs, drugs, and substance abuse. They want to talk about dating and sex and abortion. They want to talk about both physical and sexual abuse. They want to talk about racism and suicide. These young people want to hear from Christian people. No wonder Reverend W.B. Parker, Reverend Jerome Free, Reverend Caesar, Reverend Ward from Edmond, Reverend Lawrence Kirk, and all are saying this is the thing. Now, we want to make sure that you know that you are invited on March 27th. When we think about child care, we've got to think about what, Calvin?
We have to think about the very best in child care, and that can be had at Chauncey Cherdina's Daycare Center, 1643 Northeast 50th Street. You know,
on to the gumbo people.
Okay.
You mean to tell me gumbo is leading out here?
Week?
Gumbo, chicken, and fish. Goodbye, Maddie.
Goodbye.
Let's talk about Ward 7's race. Now, I invited the candidates to come out, but they didn't come out. I haven't heard from them. And what is going to happen in this race? I want you to listen to me very carefully. You have 4 or 5 blacks running and 1 white. That's what you have in Ward 7. Now, the question that you're going to have to decide in Ward 7, do you want to continue to be represented by a member of your race? Now, let's go and see what happened in Chicago. In Chicago, when Harold Washington, the mayor, died, all the blacks decided they could do the job. They ran. And who was elected? A white man by the name of Daley. Now, what these other candidates are going to have to do, they're going to have to prove to you, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that they can do more for you than the present councilman. Now, the only way they can prove it will be by their records. What's on their records? What have they done so far for this community? And I invite those candidates. Now, I know what one candidate has done, but I want to know what the other candidates have done for this community and how will they speak for us. Letty? Hello?
How are you doing? And hello to radio audience.
Letty, I'm so glad because your audience loves you. And when you aren't here, they call me, where's Letty? Where's Letty?
Well, I really have been trying to get in because I wanted to tell you about Lola. I wanted to comment on that because I think she is a wonderful person and she is a Zeta and she's my Soror. And she does so many good things for people without receiving any reward for the things that she does. And I just want to congratulate her for that. And then I also want to say publicly congratulations to Shelley Luper for winning Miss Langston on last week. And I hope that she will enter many other contests and be number 1.
Somebody say that when she was on that stage, she reminded them of you.
Oh, come on.
But you started her in modeling, didn't you?
Oh, yes, way down there when they were pages. So she has been through she's had many years of experience for as modeling and participating on programs. So that really wasn't anything new, and I'm sure she was not frightened because she's been on the stage so many times, and she's traveled over the United States by herself so many times, representing us in Oklahoma.
Okay, will you talk a little louder so that I can hear you?
Right, because I can barely hear you, so I didn't know what. But I did want to say congratulations, and then I want to tell them that if you really want some good chicken, you better come on out because Nancy Davis and Lady Ruth Hunter, with our good helper, Kelvin, Luper, we're going to have some chicken that's out of sight. You know, there's 126 ways to prepare chicken. So you have not seen chicken prepared until you come out on March 13th, which is next Saturday, and get some of the chicken that we will be preparing at the Freedom Center, 2609 Martin Luther King.
So you aren't speaking for the fish people, right?
Well, oh yeah, do come by and buy some fish. But remember, chicken is on the agenda.
Chicken
and
is
do come
nothing but a
by
bird.
and buy some gumbo, but remember, chicken is on the agenda.
Okay, we hear you talking about chicken. I want to hear from the gumbo people. And out here, the calls are coming in for gumbo.
Well, I've gotten calls for chicken. Chicken. We're going for chicken. Nobody can buy that
Okay.
chicken.
Calvin is all smiling. What did you say, Calvin? Calvin is really smiling. Look at him jumping up and down. What did you say, Calvin?
2 calls already on the chicken. The gumbo just stands a chance, and fish has a long way to go. But then working with Mrs. Hunter and Mrs. Davis, I can look forward to that.
Oh.
But they're calling, and they're anxiously awaiting next Saturday. They want to know the phone number, what time we're going to start serving, and that information again.
We are going to be start serving at 10 o'clock. We will have pickup service. Call 424-2384 and get some fish. What do you say, lady?
Oh, call in your chicken orders. You may call them in early. If you call them in early, we'll have them prepared for you. And if you give them to us early enough, we will deliver them to you for lunchtime, in time for dinner. So do not forget.
Okay, well, now what I want you to do is to come up to Freedom Center because I want you to come up there and see what's being done. And if you had been there Sunday, let it tell us about Sunday when 85 students came to Freedom Center from Southwestern College in Terra, Texas.
Oh, on Sunday, that was a wonderful program. They came in large numbers, and they were so excited. And it's unbelievable that they did not know that the Freedom Center existed. And when they walked into the building, they could not believe their eyes. And when you told them the history of the Freedom Center, they could not believe that either. They said, this is unbelievable. Where have we been that we did not know about this Freedom Center? They went outside and they read from the walls, and they went out and they looked at the monument, and they said, this is unbelievable. All of those students were so elated to see such beautiful structure and see the works that we are doing there. And Mrs. Matthews, as usual, had helped us prepare a wonderful, wonderful repast for them, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. And you can always tell when people enjoy food, there's always nothing left on their plates when they bring them back.
Oh, that was wonderful. Well, lady, I know you have to go. I know this is a busy day for you. You have congratulated your Sarah, Lola Greer, and I would like to thank you and Mrs. Matthews and all of you for that surprise. Wasn't that some surprise for me?
Oh, Miss Luper, that was definitely a surprise. We thought at first that we were going to be the person that was surprised. Because
I don't want you to
knew
tell
where
that,
to come but you. We was sitting there waiting to where is Clara. I said, now wait 1 minute. I'm sure she'll be here in a minute. Everyone was there, and finally I said, well, I'm going to do holy Michael. Maybe she'll be here after a while. I stood outside waiting on you. Mr. Matthews stood outside. They said, you know, you can look a person up. Miss Walker stood outside trying to look you up. But we were so happy when you came, and the gifts that you had, it's unbelievable.
Well, I tell everybody, if you're going to do something for me, do it while I'm living. Don't wait until I die and bring that food over there for Calvin to eat because he's with the chicken people.
But I just appreciate that Mrs. Matthews had the forethought to give an appreciation for you. She wanted to say thank you for all of the things that you've done because she knew that we have come this far because of the sit-inners and for those who built the bridge for us to cover.
Well, thank you so very kindly. And bye-bye, lady.
Bye.
This is a Clara Luper radio show, and today's show we are talking about Ward 7. Now, when these new people come up and tell you what all they're going to do for you in Ward 7, be sure and ask them one question. What have you done for me so far? Where have you been? Where were you when we were fighting for liberty, justice, and equality? Where are you? Next week, I'm once again inviting them, and I expect them to be here next week because I want to ask them the questions that you want to ask. For example, you say, Okay, Clara, how do these people understand what's going on? Can they bring about the changes? And if we want to change, and we don't sound like the people in 1900 before we got under the bush. Well, Calvin, Ward 7, the election is going to be a hot one. What do you think?
I know it's going to be a hot one, but it's going to be one that should be a benefit to the entire community, and it'd be interesting to see who the winner would be. But you remember last week we were talking about how you were going to have all the candidates out here.
Well, I invited them. I would like to invite them.
I told you then that they weren't going to come out here and express their views on this radio station to your outstanding and intelligent listening audience.
All I want to ask them is, what have they done? What have they done?
Well,
that's all I want to know.
Maybe next week you'll have an opportunity.
And I have the book here. I know what they have done for the NACP Youth Council, and I know what they did in the sit-ins. I remember that what they did in the garbage track. And I'm going to read for the record.
I have faith.
You have faith. You have faith that they will be here next week.
No matter what their past record is, that they're looking forward to being on the Clara Luper radio show and coming out here and explaining to the audience and to you exactly what they have done since the sit-in movement, what they have done, or whatever, but they want to represent the citizens.
And how they going to represent all of the citizens and have them talk to the citizens?
Well, they have another week to go.
They have another week to go,
and they're going to talk next week, then they can come on by Freedom Center and enjoy some of the delicious chicken that Mrs. Hunter and Aunt Nancy and I will be preparing.
Oh, I'm sure. The gumbo, chicken, and fish. Now, some of you people have been calling me because I was talking about Senator Bourne. I stated, and you don't have to call him and tell him what Clara Luper said. I stand on my own ground. I am saying that we are a state without a federal judge. Senator Nichols and Senator Bourne are in positions to recommend someone, and we have some lawyers and we have some judges that would be great. I say it, and I say it louder. And when I say something about white folks, don't you run back and tell them. Because if you do, they're going to call me and tell me. Because they know how I feel. I had the opportunity to sit down with the writers out in Midwest City at the Tom Steed building. I told them. Now some of you just grin in their faces and then behind their back do your talking. I talk in front of them. And I hate to tell you this. These white folks love Clara Luper. These white folks really love Clara Luper. And they will just do anything for me. I will ask my good white friends to come and get some fish. And you want them.
Well, that's your good white friends. Now, you're not the only one with some good white friends. I have some good friends, too, that happen to be white. And I'm inviting them to come by Freedom Center and to be a part of next week's celebration. I'm inviting them to listen next Saturday to the radio show. There's a possibility, no matter how remote it may seem, that all of the candidates in Ward 7 will somehow or other be on the Clara Luper radio show. There's a long-distance possibility that Bourne and Nichols will appoint a black person as a federal judge.
Well,
maybe next Saturday all of that will happen.
All of that will happen.
But we know definitely that the chicken, the fish, and the gumbo will be there at the Freedom Center, 2609 North Martin Luther King Avenue, next Saturday starting at 10 a.m.
I have my press card ready. I want to call that Stella trial. I want to hear the testimony. I told you that our kids were not at risk. We got some smart kids. All we need you to do is to put your arms around them. And once again, I would like to tell you that I will never be satisfied until we get some black federal judges. Now, many of you have written me this week from North Shoretail. And there you are sitting down there with your handsome intelligence selves in jail because you have stolen, they say you have stolen something. They say you're a shoplifter. They say you're dealing with drugs. Well, don't you know how to stay out of jail? It's simple. Don't steal. Don't kill. Don't get in anything that will put you in jail because you think you're suffering discrimination. You haven't seen nothing until you get in that jail and, I won't tell you the rest of the story. I would like to say next Saturday will be fish time, chicken time, gumbo time. And any time, Letty Ruth Hunter, Nancy Davis, Merlin Hildreth, Thelonious Bennett beat Robert Gates, beat Gloria Matthews and Clara Luper, that will be the day that we will prepare all of you a special meal of anything you want. As I look at the clock on the wall, I know it's time to say goodbye. I really hate to say goodbye to you because I want you to be part of the Soul Bazaar. I want you to exhibit. I want you to be in the fashion shows. I want you in the baby contest. And I want you, all of you, to make sure that you have tickets to Miss Black Oklahoma. None of you could answer my questions, and I'm not going to give you the answer. This is Clara Luper saying, remember, next Saturday is Fish Day.
And Chicken Day. And Gumbo Day. Next Saturday, there might also be a miracle right here on KTLV. 7 candidates from Ward 7 on the Clara Luper Radio Show. Governor Bourne, ex-Governor Bourne, Senator Bourne, calling in and announcing that he has appointed a black judge.
Yes, recommended now. All I want them is recommend to the president.
Well, make sure you all be listening now. Next Saturday, tell him what might be happening live right here at KTLV.
Be listening to Clara Luper. And if you love me, baby, prove it. Prove your love for me. Clara Luper say, I love you, whatever happens. And thank you, Dunbar students, and thank all of you, Clara Luper. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Lola Greer. And don't talk about Clara Luper, Lola Greer, and tell me what I had no business doing. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and if you don't believe I'll talk about you, just try me. Bye-bye. You have waited for, and I have some news that you cannot afford to miss. Today's program is a very special program, and this program is being brought to you by your Allstate Insurance agent, Marilyn Hildreth. Special program. And today, one of the greatest races of all will take place at Freedom Center, 2609 North Martin Luther King Avenue in Oklahoma City. It will be a race between the catfish people, the gumbo people, and the chicken people. I will be telling you more about that, and you're going to hear from these people. Who will win today? And let me tell you seriously, the Freedom Center with its Freedom Wall, Black History Wall, with its Black History Monument must be completed now. We must complete the Freedom Garden because there are some people that will be standing tall in that garden. We need your support. We need your support. And today you can support us by coming by with your donation, by coming by, ordering. I say catfish, Letty say chicken, Marilyn say gumbo. And let me tell you about the catfish people. Mr. C.P. Wilson is ready with the know-how of how to fry catfish. C.P. Wilson can fry catfish so the catfish will even talk. On the catfish dinners today, you will see Irma Davis, Rondria Pierce, Veronica Wright, Michelle Clinton, Shadina Fowler, Cremicia Cross, Talise Ray, Robert Gates, Calvin Whitaker, Nyla Phillips, Wilma Ray, Mrs. Gloria Matthews, Ira Holmes. All these people are now working on the catfish people. Gates Barbershop is located at 2609 North Martin Luther King Avenue. And that's where you can go and get that haircut. My distinguished guest here today. And that's going to be excited. Well, I'll tell you one who will not be here. Miss Shadell White will not be here today. I talked to her last night. She told me she's going to be here. And then she called me back and said she's going down to the bus station to campaign. And she will not be on the Clara Luper radio show. And I said, you mean to tell me you're going to miss talking to all of the people in Ward 7? You're going to miss talking to the most intelligent audience that you have ever seen? And she said, my family told me to go to the transportation company rather than on your show. Well, I want to say one thing, Mr. Dare. You're missing the opportunity of your lifetime. Because Clara Luper's not wrong. I read it in the newspaper. Where it says Clara Luper was not wrong. And I'm not wrong when I tell you you should be on the Clara Luper radio show. This is the oldest talk show in Oklahoma City by minorities. This is a show that you cannot afford to miss. And Clara Luper's not wrong. Calvin, I read this in the newspaper, and I just want everybody. In the Daily Oklahoma, it says, Luper, not wrong. I want you to read that to me. I want to hear it once again.
Well, Mom, I'll be happy to read it to you. And good morning to you and the most intelligent listening audience. And I'm looking forward to today's program. It promises to be very exciting. But here we go. The headline is Luper, not wrong. 3 letters on February 3rd demanded my attention. Clara Luper is not wrong. Some students are not getting informed about Martin Luther King. Some schools do not release students for Martin Luther King Day properly. We live in Yukon. I've been told by the school system that Martin Luther King is not studied until grade 3. My older son is in grade 1. He knows all about Martin Luther King and his quest for civil rights, taught by us in our home. 3rd grade is too late. If we discuss his efforts before a child is confused by peers or rumors, then there will be less misconception. Civil rights are not a race thing. It is simply that because you have rights, whereas everyone is equal. Black, red, yellow, purple, white, we all have rights. Rights brought to awareness by a black man, yes. Anyone who can claim that blacks have not been and still are denied the right to be treated equal as a child, ignorant, or bigoted. UConn released its students on Martin Luther King Day, but put on calendars, student handbooks, and memos home that the day off was due to teacher meetings. This is wrong. By the way, I am white. If a child in middle school feels he has been taught fully by a flick followed by a quiz, it is proof more needs to be taught, younger. Also, ACLU doesn't stand for Anti-Christian Liberties Union. The American Civil Liberties Union simply provides protection from the invasion of anyone's rights as a human. It provides all of us the right to air our views and readers speak, and that was in the Daily Oklahoma paper, the Readers Speak section. But the big part of it is Luper is not wrong, and that Martin Luther King Day was not celebrated there in the UConn school system. The letter was from Roberta Parnell out of UConn, Oklahoma.
Oh,
and that's what it says, Ma.
That's what it says. Clara, Luper not wrong. I told you they were neglecting our culture. Read the article, Calvin.
The culture neglected. This was also in the Readers Speak section of the Daily Oklahoman. To the editor, it's debatable whether Clara Luper owes an apology to the Putnam City school system. Students were released on Martin Luther King Day, but only under the guise of Record Day. Oklahoma City students were released on Martin Luther King Day and for Record Day. Technically, Luper is aware of the facts. I am a student in the Putnam City school system and a living witness to stinging attitudes. An African-American girl approached our principal about acknowledgement or activities for Black History Month and was told that they don't believe in that here. Another student took it upon herself to pass out pictures of Martin Luther King with this "I Have a Dream" speech typed on it. Obviously, they believed in it. At present, we're continually striving for some form of acknowledgement of Black History Month. The Putnam City school system does not offer any Black history classes and so forth. Please learn about the Black culture because we are forced to learn about yours. This is from young lady Jacqueline Slaughter in Oklahoma City. The culture is neglected in the school system is what that letter was about. That's 2 times in the Daily Oklahoma.
Luper not wrong. I love that.
Wrong.
Luper not wrong, and I'm not wrong when I've asked the candidates that are running for council person in Ward 7 to come here today. You understand how politics work. I can interview these candidates, but when we get down to talking about voting, they will have to pay. You understand that out in radio land more than anybody else. Well, the first candidate to arrive is Willa Johnson. Willa, how in the world are you today?
I'm great, Ms. Luper. How are you this morning?
Oh, I'm really happy because you are here, and I know you have something to say. Let me ask you first, why did you run for councilwoman in District Number 7?
Well, Ms. Luper, you know as well as I do, many times we've worked together, such as when we worked to help solve some of those problems at Tinker Air Force Base. And then we worked real hard to bring the employment office back to Northeast Oklahoma City. I've worked more than 30 years in this community, and I wanted to be a city council representative so I could help more people in one fell swoop. And I also want to talk to you today about the fundraiser that we're going to have at the Northeast Shopping Center from 4 to 7. It's going to be family fun and food and entertainment.
Wait a minute now. I want to know. We'll get down to what you're going to do. But I want to know why you were going to run. Let's name them off. Number one,
I want to represent all of the people of Ward 7. I don't want to put the solutions to the problems in the hands of a few people. I want to get the input from all of the residents. I don't think anybody can solve all of the problems for all of the communities without getting their input. And that's what I want to do, is get their input and then go about resolving the issues concerning each neighborhood, not just one or two.
How do you plan to do it?
I intend to have town meetings. I intend to attend the neighborhood association meetings. I intend to meet with the leaders of the city as well as the regular citizens of the ward.
Okay, now, I noticed when Mrs. Thelma Parks was on my show, she stated that she would have town meetings, formed an organization where they met. But then, to her surprise and certainly to ours, people didn't cooperate with her.
I think if the people attend a town meeting and they see something going on that's going to directly impact them, we may start out small. But I think once the word spreads that there's some sincerity in what's going on, more and more people will take a part.
How are you going to notify the people?
I intend to use every medium I can, including newsletters, the newspapers, the radio. I want to especially get on your show because you reach so many people.
You are exactly right. Now, what preparation have you made for the position of Ward 7?
I made preparations back when I was 18 years old, and I decided that I would help a little girl who wanted to be a brownie. For whatever reason, she couldn't be a brownie, and she asked me to help her. I went in and worked with that brownie troop up at the old Page Woodson School. Since then, I've worked with the YWCA. I've worked on finance committees. I worked at Tinker Air Force Base where I had control of a budget. So I'm familiar with what setting policies and spending money and getting money. I've just prepared myself for the last 30 years to be prepared for the city council seat.
Now, I understand that you're having a fundraiser this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I am.
About it.
I'm really excited about it. You know, this is a poor woman's race. It started out on the kitchen table. And we are going to have a fundraiser this afternoon at the Northeast Shopping Center from 4 to 7. It's going to be held at the Entertainment Center. And I don't want the Entertainment Center to frighten people away because this is totally family entertainment. They'll have food, plenty of food, soft drinks, and entertainment there for the people. The cost is $7.50 per person, and we're asking everybody to come out and enjoy that fabulous meal. We'll have all kinds of good things to eat.
When you mean good things to eat, you remember I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma, and when we say good things, we are talking about sweet potato pies, catfish, crawdad tails, and all. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about barbecue, you know, and ribs and baked beef and baked beans and potato salad and coleslaw and bread and red soda pop and those kinds of things.
And they can get that for how much now?
$7.50. And I ask everybody to come out and help us in this effort.
All right, so we are talking to Willa Johnson, a candidate for Ward 7 council seat. Now, the fact is that we do have 4 blacks running for that seat, right?
That's right.
And 1 white. Thinking about what happened in Chicago, do you think the votes will be split in such a way that no black person will be able to represent Ward 7?
I don't anticipate that, Mrs. Luper. 4 years ago, more than 8,000 people came out and voted, and a large majority of those people were African American. I expect the African Americans to come out en masse and vote to make sure that they have some representation on that council.
All right, you expect that. When is the election?
The election is March 16th, and we've got, if all a person needs to do, if they don't have a ride to the polls, is call us at 424-0744, and we'll make sure you get a chance to get the vote.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will make a decision. I want to make sure that you have the answers to the questions that you want answered. I want to make sure you understand why Willa Johnson is running for councilwoman, and who are your strong backers?
At this point, my strong backers are the people of Ward 7. There have been no special interests involved in my campaign. It's just been people who believe in me, believe that I will work real hard for them, and they've come out and to support me.
We have a question here that's been called in. What difference can you make at the city council?
I think I can make a tremendous difference, Mrs. Luper. I have worked to help the communication lines between all levels of government. You know, the first level of government is municipal government. And I want to interact with all levels of government to make some positive changes for Ward 7.
And you think you can do it?
I know I can do it.
For the last 7 minutes, we've been talking to Willa Johnson, a councilwoman, candidate from Ward 7. You, the people, will make a decision. I thank you so very kindly for being my guest. The last part of this was paid for by friends of Willa Johnson. I want to tell you about Bob Grace. I want you to know that Bob Grace is running for councilman in Ward 4. Bob Grayson has announced that he is willing and able to help the people in Ward 4. Now, I'm going to be telling you more about Ward 4 council seat. I'm going to talk about Bob Grace. He elected Bob Grace on March 16th because he knows this city back and forward. I have asked you to come out. I've asked for the councilmen and the councilwoman to come out. But Miss White shocked me. She said she would rather go to the bus station and be on the Clara Luper radio show. I'm telling you, if she can find some voters from the council, if she can find more votes down to the bus station than she can in talking to my friends at McGuire Plaza, Jelks, all over this city, I say go to it, baby. You skip me, Shadell White, just like you skipped the schools on the northeast side of Oklahoma City and went to Cassidy. I can see those Cassidy people out there working for you. One thing about it, you got to remember who your friends are. That's what you have to remember. Arriving here looking good, just like a councilman should, is Goree James. Goree, how are you today?
I'm always okay when I'm in your presence, my dear.
Well, that's why you own that monument up there.
Oh,
and
thank you.
You'll be very grateful because hundreds of people come every week by that Black History Monument. And I've seen people come up there, look at all of you on that monument and just cry and thank God.
Well, Mrs. Luper, the important thing is that it's there, and the multiplicity of different personalities and people who are on your committee to do that thing was all of the things that you and I have always been about. Get people together and they can produce.
Councilman, if you notice on the Clara Luper radio show, I do not use this show to talk against anyone. Rather, I'm talking for people.
Yes.
I'm not concerned with all these people talking about we're going to bring about a change because as a historian, I read a story about the Jews during the Holocaust in Germany. There were a group of Jews that were there, and they had been in the same clothes for months. Mm-hmm. And a German leader came in and said, I have some good news for you and some bad news. I'm going to tell you the good news first. I'm going to let all of you change underclothes. And that was good news because they were thinking they were going to get some clean underclothes. Mm-hmm. But then the bad news, you are exchanged with each other.
Oh, Lord.
This is the Clara Luper radio show, and now I'm talking to Councilman Goree James. Goree James, I want to know from you, what have you done as a councilman?
Well, it's hard to remember all of them, but people say, a councilman is really not a developer. A councilman don't build stores, don't build churches. You do the kinds of things that a councilman does to help people to do those things. Let me run through a little list here real quick where I have had absolutely a great impact or else they would not have been done. John F. Kennedy development. That is the area where urban renewal came through and tore down everything. And we built those houses that are there now. And in addition to that, I've passed an ordinance that give people $2,500 if they could not have that on that down payment on these houses.
Just a minute now. You're saying that you were able to pass an ordinance in city council.
Yes.
Where the people got $2,500.
Just for moving into that area.
Oh,
Just for moving into the area.
You have done that?
Yes.
Okay.
And it still stands. If the vacant house new. Not only that, Mrs. Luper, we provided money to the minority builders to build those houses. We let them have all the money that they needed to build the house.
The minority builders?
Yes, and they paid it back when the houses were sold. And, of course, that was at a 3% interest rate.
3%.
And they cut the program off, and I went to Washington and got on some folks' cases and got the money started up again together with Senator Belvin.
Are you saying now that if I wanted to move into the John Kennedy area, that I can move in?
You could move in with a $2,500 scholarship on your down payment, and if you stay in that house over a period of time, you don't have to pay it back. Summarily, I started a program out of the CDBG monies to rebuild houses in especially the black community, but it's all over the city, but especially the black community. The greater portion of that money has gone to that. Fixing people's house up to the point of $10,000, and it's still there, and you don't have to pay the money back.
Okay, now you say BG or BJ?
CDBG.
Okay, what are you talking about?
Community Development Block Grant money.
Okay, you have been able to get the government to give some what?
CDBG.
CDBG.
In the world of acronyms, yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure that I understand, because I'm from Hartman, Oklahoma, and we didn't use all those words.
I'm from Dangerfield, you know. Let me tell you about a bunch of things that has happened since I've been there. The John F. Kennedy program we've talked about, the Bartell and Northeast 36 development, Tabernacle Baptist Church, New Zion Baptist Church, Warrior Heights.
Wait a minute, now what about those churches?
Everybody who has built a church has come to me to help them to ferry out some problems.
And you have helped them?
I have helped them.
Okay.
And Warrior Heights, across the street from where I live, that neighborhood is a complete new neighborhood that has gone in since I have been in office. And Remington Park, Bricktown, somebody thought Bricktown said I put Bricktown out of Ward 7. Bricktown has always been in Ward 7. And Leo's expansion to his business there. I worked hard with him to get his problem solved. Cash land, you know, I don't have no checks to cash, but anyway, it serves the people. Finley's and Price Mart and
you have helped to bring these businesses to the east side.
AutoZone's going up right now. You go up 23rd Street, is the most busiest street in the whole of this city. And people say, we don't have no businesses and we're not expanding. We definitely are.
All right, now, Councilman, you're telling me that you have been able to bring about those changes. But one thing that I want my radio audience to understand is, how do you bring business into a community? Because I've heard a lot of talk, I'm going to bring some business. How do you bring business into a community?
One of my opponents was on a radio program just after I had gone off when we were talking about business. And I was trying to say, it takes a person with some money to go into business. And she was lambasting the fact that we didn't have a Homeland grocery store. I don't know why everybody's hooked up on a Homeland store. Most folks go to the big giants, Paul's and all of those kinds of things. And people are not going to come into any community where they know they have to compete with these giant stores, you see. Well, anyway, the question was asked of her, well, why don't you put a business up if it's that easy? You know what her answer was?
What?
I don't have the money. Well, she was right. Council members can't come out of their back pocket and say, here, put up a business here. Businesses, if people do it right, they've got to check the marketing out, they got to plan the marketing, and then they have to get the money. And apparently, this is a situation that is true all over the world. I keep hearing unemployment. You know, my regular job is to pick kids up off of the streets, get them into training, get their attitude corrected so that they can hold a job. But the jobless situation is true all over the nation. IBM laid off 25,000 people. Tinker Air Force Base is laying off about 120 people. So we began to try to retrain these people. You know, I gave an organization in this community money to go out, research, and train people hardcore black unemployed people. We had to take the money back because they couldn't do the job. So, good news, on the good news side, I want to make, this is an announcement. We have $5 million for young people to have jobs during the summer. That's $1 million plus. And I serve on the committee that lobbies for that. And I'd like for all of the young people who are 14 and above, or who will be 14 by June, to go down to the 320 Main Street this Monday at 10.
Just a minute now. You are saying that young people from 14 up will have jobs as a result of
14 to 21.
14 to 21?
Yes.
And they are to go where?
They must go to 320 Main Street on this coming Monday.
Can they go after school?
I'm certain it will still be there. They'll still be open after school because they get out about around 2:30 or 3 o'clock.
Right.
Go down there, get your name on the list. It's an orientation for summer hires. We have $5 million, $1 million more than we had last year. And much of that, Clara, is not just working. Much of it is given to academics.
Are you saying to me, Representative Goree James, aren't you saying to me that there will be jobs for young people this summer and there were jobs last summer?
In addition to the jobs on the JTPA, the mayor has a program, and I work with him on it. For, a lot of people can't qualify. My kids have never gotten a nickel of scholarship because of low or moderate income. But the mayor's program takes care of those young, desiring people who are not eligible relative to their parents' income. The mayor's program looks out for those people. So it's not just low and moderate income, because there are some people whose parents make a bunch of money, but they got a lot of children.
And a lot of bills.
And a lot of bills.
All right, now, you're saying that program is available. Now, we've heard a lot of talk about police protection. Where are we as far as employment in the police department here in Oklahoma City?
We're moving on. We have increased greatly the police numbers in our community. And we are steadily putting them into training. It takes time.
Okay, is it true that we have an assistant police chief?
By all means. And the thing that I'm saying to people is we fought hard, to get our black people into higher echelons in the law enforcement areas. And then when we get them there, sometimes we don't really believe what they say. There are some people who like to ferry out the police problems in the newspaper. This only serves to place a distance between the police and the community. I would not want to live in a community where there are no police. And I understand full well that ever so often a policeman is going to do something that is wrong. But I've asked people to take that as a serious item. It is that policeman that does that wrong. It is not the whole force. And as a matter of fact, the FOP has endorsed me. The firefighters have endorsed me. Because, see, I tried to bring, I think I made a speech to the FOP about 4 years ago, really. And they had the largest crowd that they had ever had as an organization. And I talked about the relationships.
We have a question that's just come in.
Yes.
Aren't you responsible for the crime in this community, Goree James?
My
This is
goodness.
a question.
Most of the crime is committed, and then the police are called. I'd say to people,
Are you responsible? That's what I want to know.
Absolutely not. I don't raise people's kids, and I don't. I'm not the one that causes people to get angry with their girlfriends and their boyfriends and kill their lovers and then kill themselves. Most of the crime in this community, in any community nowadays, is committed by friends and family. And, you know, I can't, that's out of my reach. I can't control. The police answers after something has gone wrong.
You aren't responsible for crime in this community.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can't have a policeman to match every individual, not even every person's home. And usually we get the calls after something happens.
Okay, are you responsible for the gangs? Did you bring the gangs to Oklahoma City?
Well, I tried to tell people that gangs were coming to Oklahoma City, and one of my opponents during the election 4 years ago made a laughing stock of what I had to say. And eventually, after plugging and nobody, we denied. Sometimes we deny too long, and before we knew it, our young people began to start killing each other. And then, of course, we came forth with what we refer to as the Neighborhood Initiative, one of the best things that ever happened to this community. It was the outgrowth of what I had said and done after my trip to Los Angeles.
What is the Neighborhood Initiative?
Neighborhood Initiative is working with neighborhood associations. As a matter of fact, in a few minutes here, I'm going to be over in the Wildwood neighborhood. And we have full-time people. Danny Terrell heads that up, and your pastor is a part of, I appointed him to that because we got together and ran gangs and dope people out of the area around 5th and Ladd, where 5th Street Baptist Church is. And Reverend Elkins played a great role in that because people couldn't even get to church for these people. You know it, you go to that church. And he has done such an excellent job and in that area. And it's telling people, hey, come on out of the house. And the communities belong to you. And unless you get involved in a neighborhood association, most of the neighborhood associations in our community, some of them were organized before I even came to Oklahoma City. And but we continue to organize neighborhood associations so that they can take back their communities. What we do, we go in and bust the crack houses, and then we put people in to find out all of the code violations, that is, trash and junk cars and these kinds of things. And then we want the children to come out and play in the streets. Because once we go through, we clean that community up, we return that community to its people. I think Miss Zelma Love was one of the giants of this program, and of course she's been ill since that time. She worked herself until she got ill. And the Neighborhood Initiative does just a lot of things, and it's really still new, but it's effective.
All right, let's get down to the serious part. You have told me what you have done for this community.
Yes.
How long have you been a councilman?
I've been a councilman for 16 years.
For 16 years you have worked for the
But I had
people in Oklahoma City.
a 4-year gap in there, you know.
You had a 4-year gap. All right, you've been a councilman.
Yes.
And now what do you want the people to do that you have helped during the past year?
I want them to go out and vote for me, first of all. Because,
when?
On Tuesday, the 16th.
What time?
From 7 to 7.
This part of our program is a paid political announcement in which the councilman is asking those of you that what?
Well, all of the people who know what I have done, and I've done a lot for people individually, you know. Sometimes if people don't qualify for things, I find another way to do it. Especially for senior citizens, you know. The unions have worked very well with me. This lady had a garage that was almost about to be torn down by law. And I called the union. And the unions went out, tore the whole thing down, and rebuilt it. These are some of the kinds of things. And in that same home was a young lady who could not get a job on the JTPA program because she had the wrong a Social Security number. And I went all the way to Washington to straighten, calling to Washington, straighten things like that out. I get calls that are state in nature. I get calls that are county in nature. I get calls that should be going to congressmen and senators. But I solve them at home because I know most of the things that people need.
All right, you're telling me that you've had the experience, you got the knowledge, you know how to work with your fellow councilmen and women?
I'm referred to on the council as the councilman with compassion. You remember when I put 300 people in the Sheraton Hotel for Christmas Eve on last year.
Yes, I do remember. And I remember the stand you took for the Martin Luther King Enhancement and Historical Committee and extended Martin Luther King through your political know-how.
That was an ad hoc that was attached to the naming of the street
well,
for
you knew
Martin
how to
Luther
do that.
King.
And I remember you voted for the 12 wards, right?
I did indeed, and somebody said I didn't mean it.
You did. I mean, I don't know what Abraham Lincoln meant when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
But he did, didn't he?
He signed it, and that's when my forefathers were free. You voted for 12 wards, right?
I did indeed.
You're now running for office.
Yes.
And you are now asking the people that you have served to put you back in office.
Absolutely. We all know what the problems are. I tell you the kind of environment I do not like to be in. I don't like to be in an environment with folks that only re-announce the problem. And I stopped going to some meetings because all I get is re-announcing what the problem is. I spend my time studying and trying to come forth with solutions. We got some solution in play now. We just need to continue them. And I find no offerings, not one single opponent of mine has said what they can do. One is talking about the toxic waste. Do you know what will happen to you if you're on that council and you start messing around with toxic waste that belongs to the Superfund? People have gone to jail for messing with that deal. That's a federal program. The city has nothing to do with it.
Oh, so you have to understand the city rights or the things that the cities can do in comparison with those that they cannot do, right?
Absolutely. When you start messing with some of the things, and Superfund is one of them because there have been many people who have gone to jail for trying to mess with the Superfund.
Well, I'm sure not going to mess with the Superfund because I don't like the jails. Even though you can escape out of them, I don't like the jails. Well, one more thing this morning, I heard on a radio program, Miss Shadell White say that in this ward, the lack of education, and that really disturbed me because I think we got more educated people in this ward than we have any other ward, don't you think?
I think so. We have good schools. We have good schools. And but
no,
you
I'm
see,
talking about education among other people, and I always say that what kind of education are you talking about?
I don't know. I think I've met her for the first time to know it during the debate.
Well, I know she didn't come on the Clara Luper radio show, and she missed an opportunity. I know you have to go. Thank you so very kindly for being my very distinguished guest today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, thank you,
God
and
bless
certainly
you.
it's a pleasure to see you. That was Goree James, your councilman. He has stated to you what he has done and what he's going to do. He's going to continue to do the same thing that you've been doing and even more, right?
Absolutely.
Well, and as you go around, be sure and invite people to eat catfish, and I want to ask you a personal question. Today,
Okay.
Mrs. Hunter, your good friend.
My good friend, my neighbor.
Yes, your neighbor's chairman of the chicken committee today.
All right.
Selling chicken delis. She and your good friend Nancy Davis.
Where is all this coming on?
At Freedom Center.
At Freedom Center?
Maryland is selling gumbo. She and Salonia.
Well, you know, I would like to do a gumbo contest with Maryland.
Oh, that would be great.
I can do her.
And we are selling catfish. And I'm
I'll be there.
expecting one of my little girls to call me. Now, you've got to make a choice today between catfish, chicken, and gumbo.
I think I'm going to stick with my neighbor.
Oh, thank you so very
Okay,
kindly.
God bless you.
Stick with his neighbor. And there are a lot of people out there that's going to stick with you, Goree. Thank you so very
God
kindly
bless you.
for being my guest today.
Thank you.
This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and I would like to talk about Bob Grace. You know, we used to sing a song, Amazing Grace, How Sweet It Sounds. But when you read the facts and the reasons why Ward 4 needs Bob Grace as their council representative, you become very thrilled. First, because Bob Grace is qualified. He has business experience and knowledge of city government. He's a former full-time city employee who worked in the water department, human resources department, parks department, and accounting and sanitation divisions of the city. When you talk about Bob Grace, you've got to talk about how he has devoted the time necessary to represent 57,000 citizens and the business interests of Ward 4. He's willing to do it on a full-time basis. He is an early retiree with no commitments other than serving the citizens of Ward 4. Now, Bob Grace supports a 12-ward council. He believes that this would be in the best interest of the city as a whole and to Ward 4 in particular. Ward 4 needs a councilman who will not be a swing vote for those factions, but one who will fight for the funds and programs to provide basic services. He believes that this is not just a minority issue because all residents are affected. Does he believe in the use of sales tax for funding special interest projects? No. He feels that if money is not available for providing the basic services through sales tax receipts, they should not be used for special interest projects. He would consider voting for such projects only if they were self-supporting or that the funding would be put to a vote of the people. He believes in economic development for Ward 4. He believes in controlled economic development. He is studying the feasibility of using private capital for a campground such as KOA. Now, one thing about Bob Grace, he has a proven record for saving taxpayers' money. His public records will show, and you can go down and check it out yourself, that his successful fight to keep the city's bidding process open and honest has resulted in saving Oklahoma City over $6 million to date. What can he do to solve the needs of rural Ward 4 for badly needed fire and police protection? He has a plan for public safety unit sites containing fire, police, and a medi-flight pad in strategic rural locations. Cost of both lands and construction costs would be reduced, and these sites could be constructed in less time, bringing faster protection to these areas. Savings could be substantial. Now you want to know Bob Grace's position on that controversial issue of the city trash pickup in rural areas. His opinion is that this is a meatless bone being offered in an election year. The inability of the present councilman in Ward 4 to provide the needed basic services is an issue that should be addressed. He feels that this project was not only ill-conceived, but ill-timed. Now, Bob Grace has his own ideas on de-annexation. He feels that this issue should be decided by the property owners, not the renters, not the voters, but the property owners. Now, one thing that you can do, you can go to the polls on March 16th and vote for Bob Grace for council. Or you may go by his office, 5004 South Eastern, number 382, or call 670-5410. Bob Grace. Bob